How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Dylan. I'm back with the second segment of A Moment in Time, my series called A Moment in Time, with the July 2nd, 2018 edition of Time Magazine. So I got a couple things I'm going to say, a couple articles I'm going to get to in this video to keep things moving. The first one is by Barry Meyer on the topic of nation, so the nation, and the headline reads, Pharma execs feel no pain. In 2007, Purdue Pharma's parent company admitted to a felony charge of lying about OxyContin's potential for abuse and addiction while marketing the drug. But the Justice Department allowed 3 Purdue Pharma executives to plead guilty to a misdemeanor misbranding charge that held them liable for the company's actions because of their positions of authority, but did not accuse them personally of wrongdoing. All paid large fines, but there was no trial. So real quick, the first thing I have to say about this is that, as I've mentioned before, Big Pharma is one of the largest entities, commercial entities out there that spends vastly more than other sectors, other regions, of the economy, of business, in lobbying, to affect the laws and stuff that are put into place. And they have a huge stake in, obviously, things like the medications that go out. They control all that stuff, and that's how they make their money. Billions upon billions, trillions, I'm sure, dollars, in medication sales, as well as, these crazy high-priced surgeries and stuff. But the problem is that, our medical system is not designed, to prevent things or to find cures. It's about, perpetually treating disease and illness. They don't want us to be healthy. The powers that be in the world and in this country do not want us to be healthy, fit, sound of mind, analytical thinking people, because that would threaten their entire way of life. And there's no oversight, there's no accountability, and there are no repercussions, there are no consequences for these people that commit these atrocious crimes. It's absolutely sickening. Absolutely sickening. After the settlement, a U.S. senator wanted to know, why was there such a vast gap between the company's admission of wrongdoing and the relatively minor pleas by the executives? At a congressional hearing, the prosecutor of the case, John Brownlee, was grilled. He said he believed the official's lower charge was appropriate. Yeah, okay. Given the evidence. Bullshit. Yet when pressed about that information, Brownlee declined to describe it, citing grand jury secrecy rules. See, now that's a crock of shit, if I do say so. And anytime any of these fucking assholes, see, this is why I say, if you got something, to argue, if you have a side or a viewpoint, bring some facts. Bring some hardcore, proven evidence. And anytime these fucking ass clowns want to sit there and hide behind secrecy rules or, these laws that they create through their lobbying and the money that they spend, say that they don't need, to disclose this shit, it's complete bullshit. And it's obviously, how more obvious could it be that they're hiding shit intentionally because it's for their benefit and not for everybody else's? They do bad shit. They get away with it with no consequences. In large part, because they spend millions, billions of dollars through lobbying to get our government to pass laws that protect them. Why are we surprised, people? Come on. More than a decade later, we finally know an important reason the Purdue Pharma executives never faced the possibility of prison. As it turns out, Brownlee did want to indict them on serious felony charges, and the evidence he couldn't discuss was records suggesting that Purdue Pharma knew for 3 years about OxyContin's growing abuse and concealed that information. But the executives were never indicted. Political appointees at the Justice Department, after meeting with a high-powered Purdue Pharma legal team advised by Rudolph Giuliani, refused to back Brownlee's recommendations. The prosecutor was left dangling in the wind. So anybody, all I get from that really is anybody who even has an inkling of doing the right thing generally gets exceptionally blackballed, which I actually have a lot of personal experience with, which we won't get into. That's a whole nother topic. Ask me if you want me to tell you about my life. Facing the opioid crisis, President Trump has called for the execution of drug dealers as Attorney General Jeff Sessions has declared a crackdown on doctors and drugstores illegally dispensing prescription painkillers. Damn, is that a fucking overdone knee-jerk reaction kind of thing. This motherfucker says, just kill him. It's so much more complicated than that, first of all. But that is just, like, over the top. This motherfucker jumped to let's murder these people. Come on. But the 2007 Purdue Pharma case shows how the Justice Department contributed to this catastrophe by not holding drug company executives accountable to the same level of justice as street-level drug dealers. Right, so they'll take somebody off the street who gets busted for having a bit of marijuana, depending on where you live nowadays, and you'll get incarcerated for how fucking long? For like ever. And you become this felon that can't get fucking work, and so on and so forth, right? So all this terrible shit happens, because what? Well, we all know that the prison system reaps fucking millions upon millions of dollars for these, rich and powerful. That could be why. Whew. In his 2017 book, The Chicken Shit Club, journalist Jesse Eisinger described how the Justice Department has devolved from an agency eager to imprison white-collar criminals to one that has lost the will and indeed ability to go after the highest-ranking corporate wrongdoers. One reason: government lawyers are more interested in mutual back-scratching with defense attorneys than a case's merits, because their next job will be in the private sector. Wow. Even a decade ago, some experts thought a trial of the Purdue Pharma executives, regardless of who won, could have slowed the opioid epidemic's trajectory by putting on display the evidence prosecutors had gathered. The Justice Department's decision to make the information hidden did the opposite. Oh, of course it did. What a surprise. Doctors who were kept in the dark about much of what Purdue Pharma knew about OxyContin continued to liberally dispense opioids, writing tens of millions of additional new prescriptions annually. Real quick, I want to backtrack a little bit to the Justice Department's decision to keep the information hidden did the opposite. Look, man, I always say to people, you got to be logical, right? First and foremost, there's no forms of logic. There's no variance. Logic is a very calculated thing. It doesn't, to the same degree as I always give this simple example, 2 + 2 = 4. It will never, ever, 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 no matter how much somebody believes it or, wants it to be, will ever equal anything other than 4. You can joke and be like, oh, 2 + 2 = 22, ha ha ha. Funny, but it's not obviously the reality of the situation. And the same applies to logic and reason. Right? There are no variants. It works in very specific ways, just like the various laws of nature, right? So it's not. I mean, it's not rocket science shit, people. Come on, like apply a little bit of reason to your thinking. Think about various different perspectives, outcomes, situations. Take all factors into account, right? I don't know. It's just crazy. Over the 5 years after the case's settlement, distributors shipped enough prescription painkillers to give every person in West Virginia, a state already awash with opioid abuse, 433 pills. By the way, I'd just like to mention, for my viewers' knowledge and background of me a little bit, I have a lot of personal experience with people who have, drug addictions. I have personal close relatives of mine that have had serious issues with prescription pills and other various lab created substances that have caused tons of misery and chaos in their lives. So I'm not unsympathetic to certain things. I'm very sympathetic to certain aspects and lights of it, but you got to understand the real underlying, issues that are at hand and whatnot, and not fool yourselves into thinking that, it's something that it isn't. In that period, some 100,000 Americans died from overdoses involving prescription painkillers like OxyContin. Thousands became addicted to opioids or suffered ill health consequences. One prosecutor involved in the 2007 case said during a court hearing that year that the executive's misdemeanor pleas would send a message that drug industry officials faced being held to a higher standard. But the message it really sent was that the only penalties companies paid for breaking the law were fines that essentially amounted to a cost of doing business. I'd like to comment too real quick on this whole concept of companies and whether they're not, or whether they are people or entities. First of all, a company in and of itself is just an entity, but the people running these companies shouldn't be able to play the convenience. We should be treated like a company when it's convenient for us. But now, when you're coming at me for this other thing, you should treat me like an individual and I should have rights. You should treat my company like it's an individual and it has rights. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, fuck this stupid, having it both ways bullshit. Like, it doesn't fucking work that way. Alright? Can we get this straight? It doesn't fucking work that way. You don't get to fucking play, just whatever card is convenient for you at the time. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. Good Lord. Where was I? The opioid crisis is complex and presents an array of challenges ranging from finding ways to treat pain with means besides opioids to helping those addicted to prescription painkillers and illegal drugs. Nature's got all your medical answers, bro. And technology can assist in that. But we have to use it appropriately, right? Jesus. Science and technology are made to assist in that. But, use it appropriately. Don't abuse it. But the Trump administration, along with taking measures against leaders of drug cartels, can also put every C-suite executive involved in the manufacture or distribution of prescription opioids on notice that there will be no special justice for them if they betray the public trust. Good luck there. Massachusetts took a step in that direction with its new civil lawsuit. Purdue Pharma, its wealthy, secretive owners, the Sackler family, and additionally, some executives past and present may face a real trial. Someday, maybe the Justice Department will also get tough. I don't know, dude, but all of these motherfuckers at the top, that tippity top 1% that really rule this, not just this country, but the world, the power structure that, these top families, right? You hear, they change too, throughout time, obviously, but, some of the names you've heard in the past, Rothschild and whatever, blah, 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 blah. These people need to be held accountable for the crimes that they commit. Truly. They need to understand. See, and, if people felt right, they use fear all the time. A lot of our wars that we've gotten into, we entered because they stirred public support through fear. Right? So they use it. So why don't we instill a little bit of fear into them? Right? Why don't we tell them and hold them truly accountable? If you go and commit some of the atrocities that these people commit, fuck over the people that they do, and harm the people that they do, you gotta pay for it, man. You gotta pay for that shit. No more of this crap. Own up to it, take responsibility, and you're gonna be held accountable. Bottom line, point blank, period. Nobody is above justice. We'll call it justice. The American justice system is completely fucked, really. But, you know, true justice, natural justice, I don't care what you want to call it, but justice in its purest form. Woo! Things are getting heavy, baby. Let's keep it going. Alright. Heavy, but good. Because like I said, I like this all this stuff to be out. So, real quick though, I'm going to get into a little bit lighter of a topic. It involves a movie that came out recently that I actually did go see. It was quite good. Me and my father got to go see it on 4th of July. We got to go see it on 4th of July because he was off, and I don't really do shit. So, we got to go see the movie. I keep saying the movie. It was the new Jurassic World movie, Fallen Kingdom. It was good. It was very entertaining. I have some views and opinions of it. There's an article in here that I'm going to read, and then I will give you some of those. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was fun. I went out, when I was younger, just real quick, a little side note, I always used to have, my, for the longest time, I always used to have, like, my lineup of snacks. I would get, a big Sprite, like a medium popcorn or a small popcorn, whatever, for the credits and the previews and stuff, and then later towards the end of the movie, and then I'd have nachos for when the movie started in the middle of the movie, and probably some candy. Now that I'm a vegan, I mean, the candy was always not that good for you because it's got dyes and other things, and obviously tons of sugar and so forth. The soda's never really been good for you. The popcorn's alright until you add the butter, as far as, vegans are concerned. And, man, the nachos, definitely not good for me. I was not feeling so well after that. I admit I cheated, and I think I am definitely reconsidering that. I will not be a hypocrite, and I will stand true to, the things that I believe, and keep myself, strict and dedicated to my lifestyle. Anyway, on to the next thing. So, this article is by Stephanie Zacharek on the topic of movies, and the headline is Dinosaurs Endure, but only barely. Dinosaurs are bad. Dinosaurs are good. Dinosaurs are good bad. With Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the fifth Jurassic movie and the follow-up to the 2015 Jurassic World, you can have it always, with mixed results. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, I like Chris Pratt, he's really, he's probably one of my, top action male actors these days, and Bryce Dallas Howard, man, she is hot, I gotta say that. Just throwing that out there. She's a good actress. Definitely, man, but she is very attractive. Anywho, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard return as dino enthusiasts facing a new mission. An active volcano threatens to destroy Isla Nublar, home to the closed and disgraced Jurassic World theme park. That means all the dinosaurs, including the flying ones, the peaceful tree-munching ones, and the ones that look like they're perpetually running off to the market, carrying pocketbooks in their proportionately tiny hands, will at last go the way of the dinosaur. Some think this is just as it should be, which it is. It should be that way. More on that in a minute. But Pratt and Howard can't bear to see the dinos die, especially the sweetest, most intelligent velociraptor in the world, Blue, who was raised by Pratt from infancy. They accept an offer from a possible good guy, Rafe Spall, who plays the character, to rescue the creatures. But nothing is as it seems, because is it ever? Of course not. And it wouldn't be a fucking movie if it wasn't like this. Obviously. Fallen Kingdom, directed by J.A. Bayona, who also directed The Orphanage, strives to be an environmental fable, a condemnation of corporate greed, and a meditation on the possible disparity between God's will and man's, and it succeeds at those things as well as any slick $170 million blockbuster can. And it does bring up a lot of those points, which I'll get to at the end of this article. But you've really come for the dinosaurs, haven't you? Some are lovely, some are underwhelming, and some are unconscious for most of the movie, which is disappointing. The dinosaur evacuation scene is the most effective. One poor Brachiosaurus doesn't make the cut as he stands crying on the island's dock as smoke and molten lava engulf him. It's terrifically sad, but only for about 2 seconds, because then the movie is on to something else. Its commitment to genuine emotion is of the hyperactive kind. Fallen Kingdom is so committed to thunderous spectacle that it fails to capture the poetry of these beasts in all their spiky, scaly, long-necked wonder. They deserve better. So, here's how I feel about this. I agree that the scene with the Brachiosaurus was sad. But I am of the mind that nature had intended for the dinosaurs to go extinct. Nature did, not humans. Humans send species into extinction over selfish gain and greed. Nature hadn't intended for the dolphins, Jesus Christ, dinosaurs, I guess I got football on my mind too much, dinosaurs to go extinct. Obviously, not taking all the other movies into consideration really right now and sticking to this one, they should have been left to fucking perish, because we shouldn't be, there was a quote in the movie about how, nature intended us to leave them alone and not fuck with them, but they should exist. That's not right. Again, nature intended for them to go extinct. They're not meant to be in this world. And one of the things that's actually kind of scary about this is these days with genetics, I know, because I've talked to people about it, there are people out there that are trying to make this a real thing. Human beings would be exceptionally foolish to think that bringing dinosaurs into the world is any close to a good idea. It's not. And these movies, time and time again, show that because of various things that could happen. So that's just one point. The nature point is another, and how they were meant to be extinct. On top of that, we don't need to be playing God and bringing back extinct animals that don't have any business being in the same world as us. I mean, I'm sorry. Humans and dinosaurs are not really meant to live together. It just doesn't really work that way, and it doesn't really make sense. Hence why through evolution and through time and so on and so forth, nature has done what it has done, and it has progressed in the way it has. And I did have some problems, not problems, but just some, I want people to get the right messages from these movies, right? Like The Right Thing, when Chris Pratt, I hope if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie, you probably shouldn't be listening to this part of the discussion, because there's a whole lot of spoilers in it. But anyway, during the part where, they're all about to die inside that hangar bay or whatever, due to the gas leak, and Bryce Dallas Howard's character is going to, release them basically into the wild, into the free of the United States. Chris Pratt tells her, if you do this, you can't go back. That's right. You can't go back. You can't make that decision over again, and it causes so many fucking problems that aren't necessary or worth it. She gets it. She stops. Then the little girl, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but then the little girl presses the button and she says, they're alive and so am I. Well, this little girl apparently was, I'll try not to be insensitive here, she was The best way I can think to say it is a test tube baby, more or less. She was a genetic clone, actually, I suppose. But she was, you know, she was a genetic clone of one of the characters' daughters. Right. One of the characters in the movie, the old man in the movie, his daughter. It was a clone of her. So she wasn't obviously conceived through, you know, natural methods, right? And so I don't want people to be like, oh, you know, it's sad that these animals are dying, and, you know, this little girl, oh, she's so cute and all this, she must be right, you know, and that they deserve, that's crazy. Look, man, I don't know how anybody can think of this, and no matter how you know, phrase it, no matter how you draw up the scenario or situation, it just cannot be good. There would nothing good. There could absolutely be nothing good that would come from human beings bringing dinosaurs back to life. Point blank, period, bottom line. Whew. Alright, so, anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. You know, as always, if you like it, hit the like button, leave comments, subscribe, share it with your friends, get people in the conversation, let's talk about it, and I'll see you again soon.